Love and happiness, it looks different on every soul. Real hearts, real conversation. Welcome to love and happiness. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's your girl, LaTonya MeChelle, and I am back for another episode of Love and Happiness Talk Show. Y'all, listen, I started this show years ago. I took a break because life got thick. Life was life and people kept saying, Tanya, when you going to bring it back? When you going to bring it back? So I am back and I'm super, super excited, y'all. I'm just starting this off as season one, and I have already interviewed different people, and I'm so excited this show is bringing. It's different than the last time. And don't get me wrong, it was good before, but this time, I think 2026 people are just ready to just be themselves and not give a dang about what anybody else thinks, and I love that. This show was created as an avenue for people just to express themselves and for my audience to see different interpretations of love and happiness. It doesn't have to be the same. You don't have to go by what everybody else thinks. It's up to you. You get to decide. So I have singles coming on, I have couples, I have people who don't believe in marriage. It's just a whole mix people's different opinions and thoughts, and I'm here for all of them. I'm here for all of them. So today I'm super excited because I have with me, joining me in the studio is Miss Ly'Chel. You guys help me welcome her in.
Hello.
Hi, dear. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful and happy to be here.
Good, good. I like your smile.
Thank you.
So you are from the DMV area?
Yes, I'm from the DM area. I'm originally from New Jersey, so let me get that out the way
Yeah.
first because I don't want anybody to say anything, but I love being from the DMV.
How long have you been in the DMV?
Oh, goodness. I've been here honestly since I was 2. And then I went back to New Jersey to do some schooling and then came back here to finish up college.
Okay, so I spent probably a good 20 years in the DMV. My
Mm.
grandsons are all still in the DMV. Was in the military there and love it.
Yes, I love it. Chocolate City,
Listen,
always going to be.
listen, I this DC, here I am. I want some go-go. I need some chicken wings and mumbo sauce, and I
Yes, ma'am.
3 o'clock in the morning. I don't want it during the day. I want it at 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up, and I want it. So
Yes, that's when it's the best.
I like the DMV. I don't care what nobody say. So
That's right.
thank you for joining me, taking time out of your busy, busy, busy day.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So tell us a little while. Who is Ly'Chel?
Well, Ly'Chel is a multifaceted entrepreneur who really took time to really dig down deep into herself to kind of figure out what does she want to do, right? I hit a pivotal mark in my life where I was divorced twice. That's the same for where I had to give up everything and needed to really learn how to cultivate who I was. And in doing so, I created this goddess effect, right? So I had to learn that I was cherishable, that I was chosen, and that I was unique in my own standpoint. And then I pivoted and made multiple businesses out of that entity.
I love it. I love it. You did it take you the second marriage? You see, so you said you've been married twice.
I have a marriage space, yeah.
What lesson that you learned from the second marriage that you didn't learn from the
It's a really good question. From the second marriage I did from the first marriage is that I was already chosen.
okay?
So from my first marriage, I felt rejected. I felt like he didn't choose me because he did choose another woman to be with. Even though we were married, he chose the other woman that he cheated on me with.
Okay.
And so when I was looking for a partner, I wanted someone who chose me. That was the whole thing. Like, I'm going to go after the man that chooses me. And then when that ended up in divorce, I was like, oh my goodness, how can this happen again? I picked someone who chose me. I had to realize that I was already chosen in this world.
What process did you have to go through to get
I went through a spiritual process.
okay?
I had to go back to my spiritual maker. I had to ask all the questions. I had to cry. I had to break down. I had to go to my spiritual father and say, I'm hurt. this is really killing me. Like, I don't understand, why I'm not being loved in a way that I feel like I should be loved. And I had to allow him to talk to me. I had to go into his word and allow that word to edify me. And it was really looking back at when he created the world or when he came down and chose us that I realized that, oh, wait, he saw that we was going to need a savior. And if he's like the beginning and the end, then he knew that it was also for me. And knowing that made me realize that, wow, he loved me so much that he gave. He chose me. I was already chosen. And that's when it was healing for me.
What did you find out about yourself that you through both of your marriages? What did you find out where you were more part of the issue and not just them?
Yes. Part of the issue was that I was looking for them to validate me. I was looking for them to be the source of my happiness. I was looking for them to heal me in the areas where I was broken. And that wasn't their job. I needed to come into the relationship as a whole being, already happy, already knowing how to establish my joy, already seeing my own worth and beauty and knowing who I am, already knowing how to set boundaries and standing on my boundaries and being firm, and knowing how to identify myself as a woman. And I don't blame myself for that either. I got into marriage as young. So I was married in my early or like late 20s, but I was in a relationship with a partner, my first partner, for 11 years.
Right.
And so I never had a chance to develop as a woman, even though who I was as a woman when we got married. And then I got in my second marriage a year afterwards. I never gave myself time.
Right. 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 Do you remember seeing growing up? Do you remember that marriage?
Yeah, there were some. And like my grandparents were an amazing examples of loving relationships. And I had aunt and uncles. But then I did have a lot of toxic relationships around me. My parents struggled on and off. They had seasons where they were great, that I really wanted to hold on to those moments. But there were definitely seasons where there was toxicity that I ignored. And that is where I shouldn't have ignored those moments. I wasn't emotionally mature to really take in and wrestle with myself about what that looked like and how it could emerge in the fantasy of the marriages I was building in my head.
I went through the same. Like I was for
Hmm
12 years. I got 18. I wasn't ready. I knew I wasn't ready when I did it. I knew it wasn't a God when I
hmm
thought that I could change. I thought 12 years.
Yeah.
Was your the process of your healing, was it an easy process? You said that you
No,
spiritually. Okay.
it was not. I was devastated.
Okay.
Right. So let's go back to like, knowing that you're not ready was still doing it anyhow. I think sometimes as women, and I'm finding that this is kind of particular to African American culture, we are kind of taught that we have to go with who loves us, that we don't get a choice in the matter of selection, that we should be happy and even privileged that a man wants or desires us. And so I walked into that feeling like, oh, if I'm chosen by this person and he wants me, I have to go in. Rather or not if I see red flags or not, because I can fix it. I can make it better. I can do this. And then I was also a latchkey kid. I had to be responsible for others early. And that made me feel also that I needed to be responsible for him and for his defects and for the flaws that he had. And that I had to take on the ownership of the role of the entire family. And that was a burden that I took on that was too much. One, I was not ready. I wasn't emotionally mature. And also we have to let go and let God sometimes, baby.
Yeah. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy. And even the ones, us, the ones that we swear up and down we have it together, we are sometimes our worst enemy because we want to solve everything. We want to be a nurturer for everybody. And it hits us.
And sometimes we pay the ultimate price, right? Because people know you're the one that is going to help.
Right.
They know that you're the healer. They know you're the provider. They know you're the protector.
Right.
And they're going to come to you for everything, but then they're also going to abuse you for it,
Of course. Because they have to
right?
know that you are that person.
hmm So it's okay when you're helping, but it's not okay when you're edifying and making better and, and correcting. They don't want that version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you so how long ago Okay, how long has your healing process been going through since your divorce, or I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes you started before you actually get the divorce. So when
Yes,
did you walk into the goddess? When did you walk in who you are? I mean, how
that's
did the
when.
process take?
Yeah, that process was continual and it's evolving. I definitely think that when I got to the second divorce,
Mhm.
and I said, "Ly'Chel, you got to get up from here, baby. Like, we can't let you go down and start grow." The first time, I was devastated. I felt like someone took a subtle shotgun and blew my fur out my chest
Oh,
the first time. Like, I was like, that was my high school sweetheart. We had built a whole life and dream together. And it was taken like somebody took a rug and snatched it from my feet. I wasn't prepared. I was fasting and praying and do all the things that you would think a good Christian woman would. That's supposed to save your marriage. You know, I was in the middle of marriage counseling. We were getting ready to move back into our home together. And the day that the last time we were intimate, mind you, we were separated, wasn't divorced yet, but it was 3 years of separation that I was doing this faithfully as a wife. And in our last intimate encounter afterwards, he told me, "I'm not going to move back in with you. I'm in love with someone else." And she's pregnant. And I was struggling with infertility.
oh, that's just work. Wow.
Yes. And so when I got to this a second marriage, that came off really quickly. It was the first guy I dated after I was ready to divorce was final because I waited to the divorce was final to date. And it was the first guy I dated. It was the first after the first date, he never left my house. 6 months later, he proposed. 6 months later, we were married. It was completely one of those situations where I call them nomad sapiens. Okay. So this is where, if you know about nomad sapiens,
That was okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I might need to explain what a nomad.
Wait.
Do I need to explain that?
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. That was good. I like. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
And listen, I was the perfect target for a nomad sapien.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Right.
Because I had just got my own apartment. I just got back on my feet. I was just feeling good about myself. You know, the guidance in me was just starting to emerge at that point, right? I was just feeling good about myself. I had gotten back into school. I was working on my master's. Baby, I was going to do the thing. I was locked in and charged. And he saw a confident, beautiful woman that was, that was wholesome, nurturing, honorable, and had her life together. She was smiling. She was dancing again. But he knew there was a soft point of pain there. And so on our first date, of course, he asked the right questions and my little self divulged and gave all the answers he needed to know. When we actually started getting into dating, one date led to another, then another, and he just love bombed me and did all of the right things because he knew what I needed for access. He never left my house. He just would move in and another bag showed up, and then something else showed up, then a TV showed up, then a gift showed up. And before we knew it, he was living in my house. You okay?
I am.
Okay.
With limited responsibility. So.
You know what? At the time I didn't need much, right?
He was
So I was just
powerful. He was a powerful woman doing your thing.
listen, I was working, doing my master's full time. I was working full time and working a part-time job. And what he would do, he would stay in my house all day, and I would come home to a clean house and cook food and he had a movie for us to watch. That's all I needed.
Right.
I was happy. And then sometimes he might have a water drawn and give me a massage. I was happy. Okay.
He was smart.
He was smart. He knew what to do. When we got married, it all stopped. Not only that, surprise babies popped up.
Wait.
Yeah, when we got really serious, he had one, and then all of a sudden it was a second one. But by that time, I was already love bombing in love. And I didn't mind being, honestly, I did not mind being, because I couldn't have children, right? So that filled another void for me. Being able to be a stepmother, which I do love. I loved my stepchildren. My step boys were amazing, and we connected very well.
So he had already had the children before you, but he just didn't tell you about the children.
Yeah, not right away.
You
No.
know about the children.
Did I know about the children?
He know about the children.
Oh, he knew about both of them. Let's just say he knew about both of them.
Ooh,
Okay. He knew about both of them.
a whole movie. Come on.
Oh, listen. And so after about several years of us, being married and, working things out, things were, cordial, but then I noticed a pattern. He would take my car and not pick me up from work. And then he was not working anymore. And then he was disappearing, not coming home at night. having strange stories.
You keep talking. You keep talking.
Okay. Okay. Having strange stories, trying to piece things together. And then all of a sudden, things started getting kind of rocky. I'm just being stuck with the kids. I'm watching the children. I'm primarily paying for everything. And then I'm in school. Now I'm starting to study for my doctorate.
Okay.
These are intense. I get sick, chronically sick. I started developing fluid on my brain, started losing my vision. I got shingles.
Wow.
I got sick.
You never had chicken pox?
So as a kid, my sister had it, and I was an infant, and I had one spore.
Wow. I know chicken pox, so I know all about that. So people out as an adult, you're in trouble. So when you said that, I was like, what? Because
yes, and it was serious.
It was like that. Wow.
It was serious. It was really serious. It was really bad. And because they didn't know what was going on, because it was a combination of everything. So I had plaque rosacea psoriasis. I had the shingles at the same time, and I had the fluid on my brain. So they didn't know what was going on. They couldn't pinpoint what it was, what was attacking my body. And I was sick. And he was showing out. And my whole life was crumbling in pieces. And it was around that time I realized he was cheating. And then once I called him out on it, he disappeared. And I didn't know where my husband was for 3 months. No one did, not his family, nothing. We didn't know if he was alive or dead. Yeah, he just left the house, just left the home.
Where was he? Did y'all find him?
So we were in counseling too as well, and my therapist gave him an ultimatum about what he needed to do in this relationship, and he bailed. She was like, "Your wife is sick. She needs you. You need to show up or get it together." And he rolled out. He eventually did call me crying at one point 3 months later. And I was like, I've been again. What did I do? Good old Christian woman.
Right.
I know what to do. I'm going to pray and I'm going to fast.
I'll talk about that part too. Okay, keep going. Start praying.
Listen, praying and fasting, baby. Prayed and fasted. Did all the things the good Lord told me to do.
Waiting for your
and he did it.
Because that's how. Go ahead.
How we was it? And I'm talking about crying to the Lord, crying out to God. And eventually 3 months later, he actually calls me. And he says he's going to come back home. I'm certain, the Lord has answered the prayer. I might as well shout around the house. My husband coming back. I'm preparing for my husband to come back home. And he comes back, and, I opened the door. No, the day he's supposed to come back, he did not come back that first day. And I knew something was wrong. He didn't show up. I waited for him all day. Do you know what it's like to wait for your husband to come back over 3 months?
I know. I didn't have that part. What? And you really...
After...
You waited like little kids be outside waiting for their dads to come see them, and the dad never showed up.
That's what it felt like.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. My heart shattered like glass. And the next day he showed up, popped up randomly. And at that point I had really no heart for him. Because he broke it the day before. But I knew something was up. So he showed up, he came. And then the next day he said he had to go do something. He said he had to go help his dad with his car. And I knew something was wrong. He didn't talk to me all day. I couldn't reach him. Something was off. And I said, you know what? God, he's back. I got to trust that you did this. And I'm gonna trust him in faith. Right? But the Lord loves me so much. Let me tell you what the Lord did. His brother got into a car accident. And no one could reach him either. So his father called me to ask me had I seen him. I said, well, isn't he at your house? He's supposed to be fixing your car. He hadn't seen him all day.
Wow.
So eventually, about an hour later, he called me from his dad's house. I said, I've been at my dad's today. I said, you're lying. The gig is up. And I finally showed anger. So mind you, all this time, I never showed anger.
Ever. Because you was being a good Christian.
Yeah. And also, even when I showed anger, it wasn't like, I didn't even curse him out. I was just like firm. No, tell me where you've been. You're lying to me. Stop the lying. Tell me now. And he had never seen that, so it scared him. So he told me that he was at the hospital with the woman that he was staying with, and she was pregnant. And the baby, they were in critical condition. And I told him, I said, okay, that's fine. That means that we have a child on the way. Let her know that you're married. And that we will do our best to support her and the kids like we did the other two. I'm your wife.
And you said that calmly and like it was just the thing to do.
Because it is the thing to do. You're my husband. People make mistakes.
Right.
No big deal. Go tell her. And he said, I can't do that. I said, well, I refuse to be your secret. I'm not your secret. I'm your wife. So either I help you and I stand there and we hold her hand and she pushes this baby out and she knows that she has support and you know how well I support children and how your other baby mothers love me. And we do this as a unit in a family, or I'm done. And he said, well, I don't want to bring you in a picture between me and her. And I said, well, you can leave and this marriage is over. And that was it. And that's the day Goddess Lux Beauty was made, baby.
So did you go from, so after that, were you the sick, hurt person, or were you the angry, I'm every woman? You know, like,
No, I wasn't. Honestly, I knew I did the right thing by saying it for myself. I did know that. And I think that's what the goddess about it is, and the lux and the beauty part of it is, right? I knew I deserve better. That's the luxury part of it. The God part of it was God made me for better. This is not what my father has for me. So that's the God within me, the goddess part. But the beauty of it is that I did break down. I did hurt. I did allow myself a healing process.
right,
I did grieve, and it was horrible. People had to hold me.
right.
But that's the beauty in it. And then I rose up from my ashes, baby. You know? And I came out stronger. And I'm glad I allowed myself to have that moment. But I knew, I said, Ly'Chel, you can't take long in this. Girl, you got a month, a couple of days. At least get up.
My
Do something.
8 hours. Like, you got 48 hours. After that, I don't care what, you better get it together.
Yes, because we don't live all day to wallow in this. And life is going to give you challenges, but baby, you got to get up.
And you know what? I think so many times we as women, we don't mourn the men, we mourn the relationship. We don't, because most of the time we didn't want those men in the first place. They filled the void that we wanted. We all want the relationship.
Yeah, we want the
We
fantasy.
want the with
We want what we should have had in the relationship, and we mourn the fact that we didn't get it.
yeah. And then we get pissed at ourselves because we saw it and we
Hmm.
stayed and didn't do anything about it.
Right, exactly.
That,
And that's a cycle that we continue to do over and over in relationships, even if it's not the same person, the same man. It's the same thing because we're not dealing with that part of it.
right, right. Can we go back to, because you reminded me of something. So when I was married, again, I got married when I was 19, and my family was very heavy religious, and you're taught things growing up. You don't get a divorce because if you get a divorce, you're gonna go to hell and everything and stuff. And so I can remember that being the only thing that kept me around, and it was so crazy because I was getting my tail beat every other
Mm.
beats, not hit, beats, dragged, kicked in my head with combat boots and all of that stuff. But all I kept saying was God, God, because I was taught there's no such thing as divorce. Cheat
Yes.
on me. He ain't cheating on me. So, that's the only way you can get a divorce. And this Christian thing, basically, I could have been dead because of,
Yeah.
because
I'm so sorry.
I didn't have a fear of leaving him. I had a fear of going to hell because no one taught me properly, or I didn't study properly to know that I'm leaving. God, you're gonna have to just deal with me because I'm I really stayed. Well, I know people think I'm crazy, but I stayed because of that, because of
You're not crazy.
God and get me.
Listen, you're not crazy. So, my first marriage, there was physical violence and abuse there too.
Mhm.
I mean, extreme. I can't even tell the stories that they're horrifying, right?
Right.
You know, and I stayed for the very same reasons you
Yeah.
did. And I felt the guilt and the shame afterwards. And then we still bear the guilt and the shame. Even when I'm dating now, men are saying, well, what did you do wrong? And just because I won't come out and say, well, my head was mashed into a wall,
Right. Right.
because I'm like, this is not a perfect conversation for over dinner.
Right.
I have to come up with something that's more lighthearted when sometimes men can be abusive in marriages.
Oh,
But I have to, no, go ahead and
a
listen.
lot of times.
Not saying that women aren't or they don't give back the same type of abuse, right? This even goes for a man. Even if you're a man in a relationship
Right.
or partner, if you're a partner in a relationship and someone is being abusive, God does not condone abuse. And you do not have to stay in the marriage. In a way, God healed me from that. And God is the one that told me it was okay for me to leave my marriage. Let me be very clear. And he showed me in the Bible where I will be biblically okay and it will be sound for me to leave. One, the Bible says for husbands, one, to cherish the first wives and to treat them kindly, okay? To respect and honor them as Christ has honored the church and gave his life for it. Not to take her life.
Right.
Okay? That's what they said. And then the other aspect of it is that if a man has committed adultery, that the wife is free and clear to divorce him. That's all in the Bible.
Right. Right.
And also there's things about religion. If you have opposing religions and he's unwilling to do certain things, there's a whole lot of gamut where divorce is actually permissible and allowable. So we have to make sure that we are understanding our word, that we're really heavily in there, and that we're not listening to other people's rhetoric.
I'll be honest, now we having this talk and I really don't even go much. But this, because I know that there's people out there. I was even messed up for a little while because I didn't leave my husband because he cheated on me. I left my husband because he was abusive or whatever. So for the longest, I almost felt like I couldn't marry him because even though we were divorced in the land of the law, in God's eye, we were still married because it wasn't adultery. So until I knew he had somebody else and all of that stuff, I didn't think I was free. And people was saying whatever they were saying, but I was like, here's the problem. This is the problem with me. I've always been that girl that at a young age, I didn't want to be a stereotype. I really wanted to live up to that Christian mindset. Like, I've only been pregnant once. I have one son. I didn't believe in abortions. Now, I wasn't perfect. That's the last thing I was, but I really believed in marriage. I really believed in, when you take a husband or when a husband takes a wife, like that is like forever and all that stuff. I didn't like the saying baby mama. I didn't like none of that, but it's so interesting that when you try to live so right by the book or by that, because it's not always by the book. Sometimes it's just by that image. Is when you feel like, dang, I just done failed this completely. But you really haven't. But people can think that.
Right. And that's also what I call the trick of the enemy, he's a liar. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he tried to steal people from purity, One of the things I always wanted to do was be a virgin before I got married, right? And as a young child, I was molested. So being molested as a young child, that was snuffed out of me really quick. Right. But, it wasn't even more so about the molestation. It was about what it was trying to tear down in me today. What it was trying to take from me right now in this moment. The relationships I was going to build for the rest of my lives. It had a greater plan, but we have a greater God. And so when you know who you are and whose you are in the word, can't nobody tell you nothing about yourself. Nothing about yourself. They can't tell you anything.
I love the name because people trip about God, he created us in his image. So we do. I mean, that's who we are. Like, are we going to go against him? Because that's who he said it. Come on. Go look in the Bible.
And people get so upset. They're like, well, you're always talking about the Bible. I say, well, people read Little Red Riding Hood and get something out of it. You can read, you can read any book and get something out of it. So even if you do not believe, you can get something out of the book.
You really can. You really can.
You can get something out of the book. Baby, I'm not asking you to change your theology. Right. I'm just saying, read it. Read the sentences and get something out of the word.
I love it. I love it.
That's it.
So how long have you been divorced now?
Oh, it's about to, in 2027, be 10 years.
Okay. So how has your dating life been? Because that's a lot. That was a lot, in a small period of time. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll let you answer that.
Yes, ma'am.
I like it.
You know what? It's been exploratory. I would say that. So when I first finally got out, I stayed with my therapist that I had with the last marriage. She was like, "Baby, I'm gonna take you on because you won't. I'm gonna help you go to you because I see you broken." And she expressed me to my son, "You've never got a chance to really date." She was like, "You never got a chance to date. You never got a chance to like." And you're a Christian woman. We don't let our children. We don't let our children date, and they need to practice.
They really what?
You need to practice safe dating, and I never got to do that. And so I took time doing safe dating. I did online dating for a while.
How'd that work out for you?
That was kind of fun. So what I did a different approach. When it comes to dating, my dating techniques are extremely different. This is where I like talking about it. That's why I started dancing. So my approach is extremely different. I was raised during my teenage years by my father and my uncles and my cousins, basically. Who are all really upstanding, great men. My dad is a detective. They were all police officers, high-ranking officials. And so they taught me to date like a man.
And they treat you like, no, that's good. They carry guns, and their mentality is like,
listen, different.
Oh,
it's different.
Police officers, so I know it's like, okay, but I'm listening because
yes, no, you good,
and your uncles and stuff. But go ahead.
So their mentalities were completely different, and so they schooled me on how to date. I'd never learned how to date from a woman's perspective, which is very unique on how me and women get together and communicate. Because I see things completely different than the way they see things. Right. And also, I scare men sometimes, but also I have boundaries and things that are said because they can't really disagree with me because they know it's the truth, right? So I did something maybe most women don't do. I openly dated. So, I mean, they said, what does that look like? At my height of open dating, I probably was dating 30 at one time. Now, that doesn't mean I was engaging in discourse with all of them. I was not. But I was entertaining that many.
30?
That's what me and my friend, we were calculating. We stopped the number at 30. You say, baby, that's ridiculous. So let it go.
Keep up with all of that. That's all I'm saying. Like, shoot, what?
Because you know what? Let me tell you this. It's going to sound bad, but this is going to sound bad, y'all. But what it was is that I'm a teacher, and I had a classroom full of kids. And, they don't keep the class sizes small.
Right.
And I knew all my babies. That's what I call my babies. They're my babies. I knew them by name. I knew their parents. I knew what their needs were. I'm just naturally adapt to handle multiple personalities and multiple, things and keep information that way. That's the way my brain's wired. So for me, that's what it could look like for open dating for me. Now for someone else, 2 or 3, 1 or 2. But the thing is that you should have options. You should not scale your options down to 1. One man does not deserve all your time when he's not your man. Okay? And he should know that this is something, he should court you. This is a competition. This is a race. Men like to chase, and you need to give him something to chase. Okay? You're not really available at the drop of a hat. You have time when you are available, and he needs to make a plan for your time. And the time needs to be sacred. It needs to be something that he knows you would enjoy and like. And you need to show up and be present. You need to give him the presence, and you need to make him to desire to want more of you.
So you still believe in to catering to them to make them feel good when you are in their space?
It's a cater to both. So I know I bring a good time. I know my qualities. I know what I have worked on in myself, and I know what I can offer a man. Because when a man finds a good thing, he finds favor. He finds a wife, and he obtains favor with the Lord. Right. So I know I want to be a wife to a good man, and so I need to present those qualities. I'm going to bring what I bring to the table up front. So there's no question about it, baby. You would already know. And a man knows what he sees in a woman.
But you got to do that with 30 men.
Well, I was dating. It wasn't all at the same time. We wasn't all going on dates at one time, and I didn't acquire them all 30 at one time. It was gradual.
Time. Okay.
Yeah, I just said I'm going to get 30 today.
Okay.
Right. It was gradual.
Okay.
As I was, dating. I was like, okay, this was kind of cool. We'll talk. And then this was kind of cool. We'll talk. We'll see. And what I decided is, and what my dad taught me, it's a numbers game. Men do this all the time.
Oh,
please do not think just because you making him your only, you're his only. If he has not made you girlfriend, he's not saying we're in this exclusive relationship, right, then you're not the only. And sometimes even when you are, or married, because listen, you're not. So it is a numbers game. They're trying to find the best out of, the crop. Okay. And so are you. We all should be playing this number game. And then what I say is if when you go fishing and the fish isn't the type of fish you want, gently put them back in the sea. So I never hurt anybody's feelings. I put them back so somebody else can catch that fish. And he can be a good man to another woman. That just was not my man.
I like that. I actually really like that. I have a friend, and he one year he decided, he said, I'm going on a date. He was like, I'm going, I think he said it was gonna be 50 women. Because he had a desire to find his wife.
When you know what you want,
Right.
let me tell you something about men. This is a good example. If you wanted to become the best free thrower in basketball, you're not going to take one shot.
Right. You're going to keep
That's not how you practice.
practicing.
All right. And you will throw as much as you can without over restraining yourself in a session. And you will go back to the next session and throw a whole lot. So why would I do something differently when I'm trying to be the best woman option for my man?
I get it. You know what? It makes, a lot of people aren't going to like that, but it does make sense. If you can handle it, it makes perfect sense. And it's your.
And so it's at my capacity, right? And I know the speed in which I'm trying to move and the speed in which I'm trying to grow. Anybody can say what you want, but we're talking about numbers and statistics, baby. If I'm trying to get to where I need to go, I need a lot of resources. I need a lot of variables. I need to line them up, get them out fast, and get to where I want to go. I need a lot of no's before I get to my yes. So that doesn't mean that I have to be sexually active with them. I can set boundaries and things like that. That doesn't mean that I have to give them let them invade all of my space. You can't go into this. I don't recommend going into something like this not emotionally, mentally prepared. You need to do the work. You need to be ready, and you need to be looking for men of dignity, of class, or whatever you prefer. So I had all of that in line in place when I went and did it. And then I was able to wean them out. And a lot of them were really cool today. It's no beef, no harm.
Right. Because you're real, you're upfront, and that's what's important.
Right. And I understood that.
And that makes guys want you more. No, what I say, when they can't have you, they want you more.
Baby.
Men will say, I don't want somebody who's dating another person. But a man's ego will get in the way, like, oh, no, they'll get you. Even if they don't want you, that ego's going to get in the way because they don't want nobody else to have.
And the thing about it is, like, as a woman, I tell every man to this. They say, well, I'm dating you, I'm spending time with you. Don't you think I should have access to you in, this type of way? And I say, the reason why I do believe in, like, abstinence and things like that is because when I do choose my partner, I do not want to walk in a room and another man has the privilege to look him in the eye and know that he's had a piece of me. It was not my husband.
Listen, oh my God.
I'm already honoring the man I'm going to marry before he gets here because he deserves that much.
That is, you know what? I love that. Like, to me, that is so important. Like, you cannot open yourself up to a bunch of people, because the worst thing is the person that you really, really fall for and that you really, really love and really want to be have to be around people that's been with you.
Listen, be in the same rooms, and that makes him mad. Yeah. And now we're in an argument over it, or that makes him mad, and he decides to go. So I would be heartbroken. Why would I do that to myself? Right. And so this is delayed gratification. When you are valuable, when you're an asset, you know how to push yourself aside, and you know how to go into savings. I know what I have. I know it's valuable. I know I'm an asset. And so I'm not going to be sitting here wasting my coins or putting my pearls in front of swine, as the Bible would say. And I'm gonna say all these men are swine. I'm pretty sure they're good personas, but they're just not my man. So if you're just not my man, you're not the one for me, baby, that's okay. I know you're perfect for someone else. I can't be everybody's.
Right.
I can't be for everyone.
Right. I like that. See, my mind is not set up that way where I just don't have patience. Like, it's just like, no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not. To me, that's a lot of work. That would be a lot of work for me.
Yeah, and it definitely can be a lot of work if you're not having fun with it. I try to do dates that are fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy my time. But you know what? That also is something that guys like too. They like to see that you enjoy their time and that you are having fun. If I wasn't having fun, I didn't just keep the 30 minutes. So this is the thing. I left the feeling of feeling obligated. Before the relationships they chose me, right? Here, I'm choosing. If there was a red flag that I saw, done, right? Mm-hmm. If it was, I had boundaries. They didn't respect my boundaries, done. So when I said I dated 30 men, it wasn't like all at one time. It was like a course of time, and some of them stayed around. some linear, and some I just was more gravitated to.
And how did that work? The ones that you gravitated to. I mean, once you start spending time with someone that you actually are interested, or
Yeah.
start getting closer, how do you deal with that?
So I communicated to them early on what that would look like. So they were very clear that my goal was to naturally see through like natural selection, baby. Like, animalistic style. Like, I feel like I want to be spending time maybe dating here and there, but eventually I know there's going to be somebody's time where we're just going to connect. We're going to want to see each other almost every day. We're going to want to spend the most time with each other. It's going to be organic and natural. It's going to be a friendship that's going to be built where I just got to see you tomorrow and I want to see you the next day. And I just want to be with you.
Right.
And I allowed those relationships to organically happen. And some of them did. And then some of them they didn't want to go further. Maybe that person never wanted to be married, or maybe that person had a red flag that really showed up that was like, that's a pose for me. I'd have to stop right there. I really do care about you. And I may even love you at this point. And we've been going at this for 3 or 4 months. I thought this could be something that could be long term, but there's a character, I wouldn't even say flow, but just a character ability or capacity that's just not comparable to the husband that I see me having at this stage in my life.
So it's been 10 years. Have you found anyone who's come close to that?
That has. And I would say about probably one really solid one.
Okay.
And then I've had about 2 others. Yeah.
So are you still dating like that, or have you narrowed it down to one?
So I've gotten quite more serious about it. I think before I really needed to see who I was like having a dating profile. Right in the beginning, it was I've never really dated before. I need to figure out, what is dating? What does it look like? Is it courting? What is courting?
Right.
I got all of these questions.
Right.
And so now I'm in the phase of I'm trying to select, right? I really want to be married. I know that for sure. Before I didn't know if I wanted to be married coming out of that divorces like that. And, I just wanted to see what dating was like. And so now I'm out of the realms of dating and I'm going into the realms of I'm trying to find my life partner and I want to be married. So I'm narrowing it down. I do not date as many anymore. I have very strict and firm boundaries. I'll let you know upfront what I'm looking for. And if I feel that this isn't a situation where we're building something together, like legacy work, I'll let you know gently and we just part ways respectfully.
Okay. So have you found, so when you say narrowing it down, is it because there's people in a situation, or just how?
It's just kind of how I move. Like guys will say they're interested, and I will give, if they're interested and I see interest in them and it looks like there's potential, then we can, we'll date, and we'll just kind of see how that goes. I'm kind of open to it. But as soon as I kind of realize, what, this isn't going to work. This isn't my bonus. This is not it for me. Then I like to know early, because I don't want, my thing is I told men, I do not want you to spend another dime, dollar, or your time on me when I already know the answer. So it's not fair to you. I'm not asking for that from you. Your time is an investment, and I don't want you to waste it somewhere where you're going to lose out on your investment. That's not fair.
That's true. I've always agreed on that. If people was like, just go out with them for just that. No, that's
Well, I don't,
not on someone that's gonna like them. I already know
yeah.
they like them, so I
Yeah. And I don't want you to spend your money on me just because you need to spend your money. Please invest it in something
go
else.
somewhere else. A person who's gonna appreciate it, because I'm
Yes.
not gonna. I mean, I'll have fun, but you'll think that we're getting somewhere, and I'll be still like, I still don't like. So
And it's not fair to you that having your emotions drawn in and all of that. We can just be friends,
I like that. I like
Yeah.
I like the transparency of it. It may not work for everybody, but I get it. I get it and I understand it. So what is your definition of love?
So my definition of love is definitely the one that is in the Bible. No, everybody says that, but people say that they never read
What
it.
it means, right? Right.
You have to read it. When you read that thing, you'll be like, no one is ever operating out of this type of love.
Right. Right.
It's so many things that love is not in there that you need to say, oh my goodness, love is not selfish. It's not self-serving. It's not impatient. It's self-sacrificial. So it's all of these different things. And it's a reflection of yourself. It's evaluating yourself daily. It's doing all of this hard work. And so love is work.
It is.
It's not easy. And it's self-sacrificing.
It's so interesting that you talk about, the Bible and what it's now. I'm 55 years old, not ashamed or whatever thing. And I can honestly say that I just went to the Bible to look for a definition of a husband.
Mm.
Like we always hear a man is supposed to love his wife, Christ loved the church, right? That's all we hear. We don't go look at the other stuff. Like do a deep dive research because I it was brought to me on a topic and because I for the longest I wasn't tripping off of marriage, it is what it is. But then when that person told me that they wanted a wife, my mind said I don't operate like a wife I mean, that's just naturally who I am, in my opinion. You know what I mean? But
I got something for that, but yes, ma'am. I'm gonna tell you why. But go ahead.
And then it was like, but I don't, you know how people say that I'm not operating that. In my mind, I wasn't operating as a wife to be a wife. I just, the kind of stuff that just comes naturally from who you are. Right? And so they made me question why I wasn't set on marriage. So I had to go do an overall research on that. And I was just like, wow.
You know what? This is so funny. So I definitely did the same thing. I'm 41.
Okay.
And so I definitely remember being in church and, so everything that wife is supposed to be. Like we got schools on those things. Okay, any Proverbs, whatever, the 31, all the things, right? And when I went through my divorce this time, I said, I really got to get this down. Lord, I need to understand. And I went to the Bible like nobody's business. I was in there with, I'm a studier. I was already in the doctor's study. So I'm in there with markers, reading different versions, doing the things, right? And
the whole, we're not going to talk here, but go ahead.
But I realized some key things. So here's the things I realized. Number one, when Adam was in the garden, he was positioned with all of these animals to name them and find something that was comparable to himself. And out of all of the animals that he had to name, he could not find one comparable to himself. He was unhappy with everything that he had, even with God being there with him in the cool of the day, talking in the midst of the garden. God saw that he could not figure it out. He couldn't figure out how to find that need. God put Adam to sleep and then created Eve from out of a part of him. So we were already made whole as women by design. By design. Now, if the world comes and trauma happens, there may be some lack, but we were made and designed whole. Adam was searching and couldn't find. So when a man comes to me and say, what could I bring to you, to the table? What else could I do for you? You're already happy. You're already fulfilled. You said, but you got everything. What else could I do? I say, sir, you need to go pray to your God and figure it out. Mind you, I said, your God.
Right.
Because as a woman, I'm made whole. So I should be happy. I should not be needy if like I need a man to provide and this, that, and the other. I should be whole. But as a man, you need to figure out where you need to obtain favor with God. Because when you find a wife, you obtain favor with the Lord.
A man has a lot. I don't think women understand that. A man of God, if he's really operating in the right way, he's got a big, big responsibility.
He has a huge responsibility.
So that's why I said, like, as a wife,
we good. Most of us, majority of women, we're prepared to love. We're prepared to nourish. We're prepared to buy blessings to our family.
You got that right.
We're good. Unless you've been harmed or damaged in some way, you come out prepared and you're good.
Right.
But it's men that are, now I'm not going to say they're not, but they're the ones who have to be cultivated into their manlyhood, into their kingdom. And that is by design. God was there teaching Adam how to be a man, how to be a provider and a leader. He never had to do that with Eve.
Listen, that's a whole conversation. That's a whole series.
It's in the Bible, baby. Go back.
If you find a man who is invested and it's about that, and man, listen, that's a lot. when I start, oh, I mean, of course I was like, oh, I want this, but I was like, oh, that's a lot. Oh, we complained about having our periods, but I'd rather have my period than have to be a man any day after all that.
Yes.
And with a man,
And that's why they need a woman who can support them. And so that's why I tell men, I go to a lot of men podcasts. I talk to a lot of men. And I tell them, like, you have to be just as selective as you think women has to be, you know, because you have a greater responsibility. You're our leaders.
and you need a big support system behind you as you do this because you're held accountable for that. And that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It changed so much. It changed so much in how I think.
Yeah.
So we are getting close to running out of time, but I also want to get in. What is your definition of happy?
Immediately I said joy.
I like that.
So when the Bible says, you know, think about things lovely, think about these things, and like have joy. And I'm like, God, I don't know what joy is. What is that? And so God told me to date him and he'll show me joy. And I was like, God, that's weird. That's awkward. How do I date you right now? But I did. I took him up on his challenge.
Wow.
And I've been experiencing joy ever since.
I love that. I listen. I'm on listen. I love that.
Yeah, when you can find joy, you'll find a happiness that can't nobody take away. Even when you have your bad days, you'll get up and you'll be like, you know what? I'm still I'm happy. I'm happy I'm still here. Like, let's find a reason to be happy.
And we should use the word joy more than we use happiness anyways, because joy is in the Bible. I don't even think happy.
You know, joy is beautiful. It's revolutionary. I feel like we need to find more
We
joy.
do.
Yeah.
Hey, we should figure out how to
And hold on to it. Don't let nobody take it away from you. I tell my friends, hold on to it. Don't let nobody wrestle them down. Because people will try to take your joy at there's joy thieves. They're vampires. That's not called people. When they see you with joy, they try to come and suck the joy out of you, baby. Because it's valuable.
and
not everybody know how to hold on to it.
they can see it all over.
They do. Because you come in like a bright light.
Yeah. How can they follow you on social media?
Okay. So you can follow me at Goddess Lux Beauty on Instagram. And you can also find me on TikTok at Goddess, the Crochet Goddess. I do hair. So you can find me at the Crochet Goddess that's on Instagram.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Again, I said it in my intro. I have been preparing, and 2026 is just so dynamic, and my guests are just bringing, like, I truly believe that God is saying, okay, I'm gonna bring the right people for the right messages out. So I just want to say thank you. And
you're my first podcast for 2026 too.
Your life is good, man. Your life is really about to be good.
I'm excited. Thank you.
So I just want to say thank you. If you need me, just reach out. I'm here, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Me too. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, let me close out. Honey buns, there you have it. Another episode of Love and Happiness Talk Show. I know y'all are starting to see why I brought this show back. It's just good energy, good spirit, like, and you're learning. You're being inspired. I know you are, because I'm being inspired. I love what I do so much in all areas of my business because I always get blessed back. Just listening to people, they bless me. So keep tuning in, share with your friends. If you would like to be a guest, reach out to my team at LaTonyaMeChelle.com, info@LaTonyaMeChelle.com, and we will help you. And that's with the E instead of the I. It's your girl, LaTonya MeChelle. Thank you so much and have an amazing day.
Love and happiness, it looks different on every soul. Real hearts, real conversation. Welcome to love and happiness.